Hey, what's the deal? YouTube back at it again. Yo, shout out to this content creator by the name of um the podcast with Soul Sean G. Did a topic that I'm gonna pretty much talk about. Kind of inspired me to talk about at the same time. But this is gonna be the topic of with my own twist, pretty much, and it's gonna be called "Fathers Are Needed." Yes, indeed, fathers are definitely needed. I remember when I was growing up, my pops, he was in my life, definitely, But my mom's and him, they ended up splitting up, and I never really had no ill will towards him. I mean, in a way, I was kind of mad at times that, I couldn't catch him, or he wasn't around, But at the same time, we moved around a lot, and I still was able to see him in between here and there whenever I can. Sometimes I happen to get lucky, other times I wouldn't. Speaking of which, salute to my pops, shout out to him, and but back to the story at hand. Things, or should I say, bad timing. Things would happen sometimes when I just couldn't be able to see him. He just wasn't there. I'll go with my aunt, go with my grandmother, back in Brooklyn. Anybody familiar back in Flatbush, Westminster, uh, go over there, and sometimes he wouldn't be there, and other times he'll be at my aunt over there at East 21st, not East 21st, East 2/3, East 23rd over there, and she'll be over there, and sometimes I catch him, other times I won't. But over the years, it's been like an on and off relationship. Didn't help that we moved around a lot. Like I said, my moms and stuff moved around. Still staying in Flatbush, and then we ended up going to Queens eventually. But that wasn't until years later. But all this to just say is basically it's always good to have fathers around. I mean, that's something that's needed. I see a lot of the effects that it's done to even the years when I didn't have him, when I couldn't be able to see him. It was kind of like, kind of perturbed me, you know. Um, but I could see even more of the effects of what it do. Cause looking back at it in hindsight, I was actually kind of, in a way, kind of lucky. I mean, he wasn't the best, but I was still lucky because there was cats that I used to go to school with. Anybody was familiar back in the late '80s, early '90s, especially back in Brooklyn, especially back in the city period in boroughs. You know, a lot of kids didn't have their parents. Especially during the crack era. And everybody familiar with that. Well, my New York City heads, y'all know what it is. Feel free to comment on this topic and let me know. But it was heavy back then, so a lot of parents was either MIA, whether locked up, dead, strung out, whatever the case may be. Especially around that era. You it was crazy back then. So I used to go to school with a lot of these kids, and I even used to go to school with one kid that still lived down the hall with me, and he lived with his grandmother, grandparents. Another kid I used to go to school with, he lived with his grandfather and stuff. So, and a lot of other kids. So, in a way, looking back at it, I was fortunate. In some aspects, in a way, things could have been better, but it is what it is. I still talk to my pops and stuff and everything. Uh, all this to say is this: fathers are always definitely needed. I see the effects it have, like I said, for kids growing up, even within my own family. Uh, what not having a father will do. Um, when it comes out to the females, a lot of times, they don't know how to act. especially around uh, men in terms of how to really move around them, because they never had a man like a father to be there to really mold them and really show them like this is what it is. You know, this is what you look for in a guy and things of that nature. Um, and on the flip side, when it comes down to the males, you know, males tend to be super, super, super emotional. They don't know how to really like channel their anger. You got a father there, a father will school you and be like, you know, don't even sweat that. Just, you know, he'll give you some gems. In other words, some advice to really show you how to really conduct yourself and things of that nature. He's gonna toughen you up, you know, and you know, it's always needed. You know, there's a lot of fathers. It's not really in the kids' lives, and you know, it really messes kids up. You know, there got to be more stand-up men out there. You know, that really just stand up and just be like, yo, you know, we gotta stand up and step up to the plate. Um, and I think in terms for the kids, whether they're grown, whether they're young, if their fathers are still alive, you know, my advice would be basically to they're still alive. You can get in touch with them. Don't be afraid to go ahead and get in touch with them. Try to form that bond, you know, because regardless of whatever, sometimes in life you gotta put aside your differences, whatever happened in the past, and really form that bond. And it can even go to the flip side, even with you know some mothers, some people they don't have no mothers, whether it was